Thanks for being on time. Thanks for being here. It's 6:31, and I don't like to wait. I'm a very punctual person, so if other people join in, that's great. And I'm glad that you guys are all here. So for those of you that haven't taken a class from me before, my name is Maggie Westcott. I'm a chef, and I also have a blog called Alternative Dish where I share recipes that are plant-based, gluten-free, really healthy, really delicious. And I'm also a health coach. And so I do all of those things kind of on Alternative Dish there. And I just really love to teach. And so I used to be a chef at a bed and breakfast. I'm here in Stillwater, Minnesota, Twin Cities area, kind of near St. Paul, Minneapolis. And I used to be a chef, and I had a lot of clients coming in, or not clients, guests, I should say, coming in and consulting with me on menus because they had a myriad of dietary restrictions or allergies, things like that. And they were always so excited that they could eat in my kitchen and then eat really good food. And then they would often walk away with like a handful of recipes and excited to cook again. And so through that, I became passionate about helping everybody eat because I have a lot of dietary restrictions myself. And it just made me realize that there's so many people out there who are really taking charge of their health and taking gluten out, and taking dairy out, and all sorts of other things. And I really truly believe that food has the ability to help us heal. And I also believe that everyone has the right to eat really good food. So that's where I come in. So that's why I love teaching these classes and help people get back in the kitchen again and cooking. So I'm pointing over here because my screen's over here that I can see you guys on. So if you have any questions, feel free to type into the chat, and I will try to answer them as I go. And if I miss one, I'll come to it whenever I can, and then I'll take up more questions at the end. I have you guys all muted right now, but at the end, you can unmute yourself and ask questions if that's easier as well. So I'm glad you're here. We're going to do sauces that are gluten and dairy free. And I think these are really fun. I think sauces can really make a meal. They add so much to it. But then all of a sudden you're like, well, how do I make a cream sauce without cream, right? Or how do I make a ranch without milk? And so I think it's fun to find new ways to do this and find things that still taste really, really good and that you're going to enjoy. So we're going to make an Alfredo sauce tonight made with cauliflower and cashews, which sounds crazy, but it tastes like the real thing. It's kind of crazy. My daughter ate it for like a year before she saw me making it and realized what it was, and she's like, I'm not eating that. And I said, yes you are, because you've loved it for a year. Ha! And so it's really delicious. And we're going to make a Thai peanut sauce and avocado ranch dressing, and then a pesto. So all of these things typically have some kind of gluten or dairy in them, and I'm just going to give you some quick tips for how to get that out and make some good sauces. So I'm going to start first with the cauliflower Alfredo sauce because it has to cook for a little bit, and this starts with cauliflower. And I just wanted to mention, this is a great sauce to use the whole head of cauliflower, except for the leaves. Don't use the leaves. You can take those off. But this is a great one. You can use the core of the cauliflower. You can eat that. It's edible. You can even roast it if you want. You can chop it up a little smaller than your other pieces of cauliflower if you're roasting it or steaming it, but you can eat this whole thing, so don't let it go to waste. And this is a great recipe to use that in, especially because you're going to be pureeing it anyway. So I already chopped it up. I just saved this for demonstration purposes, so I'll set that aside. And I have about 3 cups of cauliflower here. You can kind of eyeball it. But what I'm going to do is I am going to put that in this pan. So just, something big enough to hold 3 cups of cauliflower. And then I have some cashews here, a little bit of oregano, a little bit of salt. I'm going to dump that in. And we're going to cook this all together so that the cashews soften, and they'll be really easy to blend because we're going to blend this sauce. And then I also have some onion and garlic here, like as much as you want. So if you really like garlic, throw a whole bunch of garlic. I think I have like 4 or 5 cloves in here and maybe about half an onion chopped up. And so I'm going to throw that in as well. And so this is going to add a lot of great flavor to the sauce because we're going to simmer all of this in some almond milk or whatever kind of plant-based milk you want. Make sure in all of these recipes that you're using an unsweetened almond milk. I made the horrible mistake. I didn't even realize I had bought a sweetened almond milk and used it in this. It's horrible. I mean, sweet. So just make sure that you're using unsweetened, okay? So you want to just make sure that you have enough liquid in your pan to cover the, just enough to barely cover the cashews and cauliflower. I think you can see that sort of. So I'm going to stick this on the stove and bring it to a boil. And I'm going to cover it. It'll help it come to a boil faster. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is when you're chopping up the cauliflower, make sure the pieces are all about the same size so that they cook evenly. And the smaller you cut them, the faster it'll cook. And if you have like cauliflower rice or something, you could definitely use that in place of this. So whatever you want to use is just fine. So we're going to let the cauliflower Alfredo cook. If you see that boiling over, type into the chat, because sometimes I get excited and forget and then it boils over. So anyway, I'll try not to lose where I'm at. So the next thing we're going to make is an avocado ranch dressing. And so this one's kind of fun. The base of it is avocado and a little bit of almond milk. And so I think this is a really big avocado. I'm going to start with just half of it. The avocado gives it some body. So it's kind of in lieu of you know, oils and mayo. You know, there's usually mayo and ranch dressing. So as you saw, I just cut that in half and twisted it off. One of the ways that I like to get the pit out of an avocado is just to squeeze it, let it roll across the floor. That was funny. That doesn't usually happen. So I'm gonna just scrape this half of the avocado in here. It's a little, I think this is not quite as ripe as I'd like it to be, but okay, it still will taste really good. So I'm just gonna scoop this in here. And again, just, oh boy. Okay. And then I am going to add, you can pick whatever herbs you want for this. I picked some dill and some oregano, which I think are really nice in ranch dressing, but whatever you want. And if you wanted to use fresh herbs, I would tell you to stir them in after you blend it, okay? So fresh herbs are really delicious in this, but if you blend them in here, it'll just make it greener than it already is from avocado. It'd be fine, you could definitely do that. It's up to you. And so I have some dill, some oregano, some onion powder and garlic powder, and just a little bit of salt in here as well. And then I already had some almond milk in here. Again, unsweetened is best. So I'm gonna dump all this in here. And I'm also gonna say, do you guys see that moving all by itself? That's really freaky. I don't know what just happened there. We live in a really old house that was made in 1875. Maybe there's a ghost. I don't know. That was weird. Okay, anyway, I don't even know where I was. Oh, I was gonna say almond milk is great in this. You could probably use soy milk. I wouldn't recommend oat milk because oat milk is a little bit sweet. So I think rice milk or coconut milk would be fine in this as well. So I'm just gonna throw this on the blender real quick and blend it up. And something I forgot in this is I forgot to add some kind of acid to it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of apple cider vinegar to it. But you could also use like lemon juice or any kind of vinegar, really like a white vinegar or white wine vinegar, anything like that would be really, really good in this. And then just to balance it, I usually do just like a poop of like maple syrup or agave or something like that. Agave is more neutral flavored, so I think that's kind of nice in this. And I'm glad I only used half an avocado in this because the avocado will make it thicker. The more you add in, the better. And that was a pretty big avocado. So I'm going to show you what this looks like now. It's green from the avocado and the herbs and stuff like that, but it's really pretty and really delicious. And so the one thing I didn't do, because you're not going to taste it, is just taste it to make sure it tastes okay. I would have done that if you guys were here so everyone could taste it, but you can go ahead and season it however you want. You can taste it. I'm going to taste it right now. And then decide, does it need more garlic? Does it need more salt? I actually think this is balanced really well. I might have added a little more salt than I should have, which is unfortunate, but maybe I'll add a little more avocado to it later or something to kind of mellow it out. So, but it actually tastes really, really good. And then so you can kind of see it has a good consistency like ranch dressing. And so there's your ranch, avocado ranch. Super, super simple. This will keep in the fridge for, I don't know, like 3 to 5 days if it makes it that long. Good on salads, good as a dip, you know, stuff like that. So really, really delicious. So I'm just gonna set this aside. Oh, the other annoying thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rinse this out real quick. So. Because we're gonna need it for our cauliflower. And let's see how this is doing. Okay, it's starting to boil, so I'm gonna turn it down to a simmer. And I'm gonna simmer it and check it in a little bit here. So this mixture has a tendency to boil over, so you kind of have to keep an eye on it. So I'll just keep an eye on it. All right, what did people say? Oh yeah, everyone said that they saw that was weird. I mean, it actually, I don't know. You guys all saw it. Okay, so it really happened. I have it on video. Okay. So the next thing I am going to make is a peanut sauce, and this is one of my favorite sauces. We'll make like sauteed vegetables and some noodles and throw this on top, like peanut noodles. I mean, it's just really delicious. Every time my husband eats it, he's like, he like moans. And so this is real simply peanut butter. If you don't have peanut butter, you have an allergy or anything, you could definitely use almonds in its place, or tahini. A lot of people really like tahini sauces, which is made from sesame seeds. So any of those would work really great in this. I have just a little bit of sriracha because I'm a good Minnesota girl and I don't like a lot of spice, but just a little bit is good, right? Good Midwestern girl. And I have some garlic in here, and I have a little bit of tamari, which is a gluten-free soy sauce. So in case you didn't know, soy sauce on its own usually has gluten in it, but tamari does not have gluten added to it. So that's a good option. If you're avoiding soy, you can use coconut aminos in its place. It's not quite as salty, so you might want to add some salt, but it's still pretty salty. So it's up to you. You can just kind of play around with it a little bit. And then I thought I like to show people this ginger trick, because ginger can be really annoying to grate. And I learned this trick a while ago, and I always keep a knob of ginger in my freezer. And I wash it really good first and then just throw it in there. And you don't even actually have to peel it, because you can eat the skin of ginger as long as you washed it. It's just fine. There's actually some good fiber in the skin of ginger, good prebiotics, which feed the good gut bacteria. And so but what freezing it does is that it makes it easier to grate. So when you try to grate it when it's not frozen, it gets real woody and stringy. It doesn't happen when it's frozen. So I'm just gonna grate this right into here. Super, super easy. Okay, and just as much as you want. I mean, I really like ginger. Ginger is really good for you, really healthy. So, but it can get kind of spicy too, but not the wrong kind of spice, not the sriracha kind of spice. Okay, so I have peanut butter, sriracha, rice vinegar, garlic, soy sauce, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of hot water to this, just a little bit to thin it out. And I'm gonna use this tiny little spatula. If you've taken my classes before, no, not spatula, whisk, you know that I love little tiny whisks and spatulas. They're so fun because you don't have to use this big whisk in this little bowl. So I think I added maybe about, maybe a quarter cup to this. And so you can pour water until it gets to the consistency you want. This is like way too thick for a sauce right now, right? So I'm going to just add a little bit more. And don't add too much because you don't want it too thin. So this is really great. I like to toss tofu in this, or if you eat chicken or something like that, you could kind of use this as a marinade or a sauce, or you could do skewers with it. So this but Lots of different things you can do with this. I'll even make a nice salad, you know, like a chopped cabbage salad, and add this and some carrots and some chickpeas or chicken or whatever you want to it. So this sauce is really, really versatile. So this is kind of, this is kind of how you want to see this sauce. If you're going to use it like as a sauce on noodles or something like that, delicious. It tastes so good. Or a salad dressing or anything like that. This is good. When you stick it in the fridge, it's probably, you know, as it cools, it's going to get a little bit harder. So you'll just want to just thin it out a little bit. So if you've saved it and put it in the fridge, just thin it out with a little bit more water, and it'll come back to life for you. So I'm just going to taste this and make sure it all tastes good. That's really good. I love this sauce. It's a little, I guess I was heavy on the salty things tonight, or maybe my palate's just feeling sensitive today. But but I think once I mix it in with some noodles or something like that, it's going to be like just perfect. So that's the peanut sauce. So really, again, really easy to throw together. And I love sauces. They're so great. I think they amp up any meal, and just make them really delicious. So the next thing I'm going to do is pesto. So pesto typically has Parmesan cheese in it, and but you don't need it. And so what you can use in its place is something called nutritional yeast. If you're not familiar with nutritional yeast, it's a yeast that's not activated. So you can't like bake bread or anything like that with it. It doesn't have those properties. It's a deactivated form of yeast. It has like a slightly cheesy flavor. So people that don't eat dairy or are looking for a substitute will use nutritional yeast. It's really high in B vitamins. It's really high in fiber. And it adds just another dimension to the things that you're making. And so I'm going to do this one in the food processor, but you could do it in a blender too, either one. I just thought I have so many things to use the blender for tonight. Oh, and here goes my cauliflower. So I'm just going to vent that a little bit. So hopefully it won't boil over again. And, oh, it put out my stove. Hang on. All right. So what I'm gonna do is, okay, so nutritional yeast, and then I'm gonna use sunflower seeds in this. You can use any nut or seed that you want. It'll change the flavor a little bit. It'll change the color a little bit. Sunflower seeds are darker than like a traditional pine nut that you'd used in pesto, but they're like a fraction of the price. So I've started using raw sunflower seeds in my pestos, or you could use toasted ones too. Don't buy salted ones, or if you do, don't add salt to your pesto until you've tasted it. But you can really use, pestos are really nice with walnuts. They're really nice with cashews. It just kind of depends on what you're going to be using it with. And so sunflower seeds are a nice neutral seed to use. I've also done pumpkin seeds. So we had a lot of people when I worked at the bed and breakfast come through with nut allergies. And so I would use sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds or pepitas in place of it. So, and then I'm also going to add some garlic, and it's up to you how much garlic you want to add. Remember that raw garlic is much more potent than cooked garlic, so start small and then go up from there. So, and here I have about 2 cups of fresh basil, and then I like to, this time of year, it's pretty easy to find basil for an affordable price, like in your garden or your neighbor's garden or down at your co-op. But in times when it's not as easy to find, you can use like half basil and half parsley. And I actually didn't have enough basil out in my garden to do this, so I am subbing with a little bit of parsley. But again, this is one of those things where you can use the stems if you want to. I mean, you're going to be blending it up, so I just take it and throw it in, and it's okay to use all of your vegetables. You don't have to throw those ends away, especially if you're making pesto. So I'm going to throw this into my food processor. And I'm going to add this sunflower seeds, nutritional yeast, and garlic, and I think there's some salt in there too. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of water. You can add water or oil, so or a combination of both. If you're watching your fat intake or anything like that, I think water works just fine. A traditional pesto does have oil in it, so you can experiment a little bit and decide what you what tastes good to you, but I've gotten really accustomed to just using water, and I think it tastes just delicious. So I'm going to add that. It's about a half a cup. I'm just going to pulse it a few times. For this kind of small amount of pesto, I think a blender works a little bit better, but I don't want to have to keep washing the blender out. So I'm going to do it here. I'm going to check out this cauliflower here. All right, let's check out this pesto. Oh, this is looking good. I love how bright and green pesto is. It's so pretty. The thing about pesto is it will oxidize after not too long, so which means that they'll start turning brown. That's okay. It's still fine to eat. It's just the air hits the green, it starts browning it right away. So after even just a couple hours, the pesto is going to start browning. One way you can avoid this if you're going to store it in your fridge is to cover it, and the top will still get a little bit brown, but the stuff underneath that's not touching the air will stay pretty green. Or you can actually take a piece of plastic wrap and put it right on the top of it so it touches the top, and then none of it will turn brown. So time, and then I'll show it to you. All right. So here's our pesto, and this could probably have been blended a little bit longer. I'm just trying to move this along a little bit, but this would be great. I love using pesto on pizzas, as a sandwich spread. What else can you use it for? In pastas, I have a great, if you look on my blog on Alternative Dish, I think last week or the week before, I did a pesto pasta with roasted tomatoes, featuring these great summertime vegetables, and roasted tomatoes are just so good. And so, yeah, so featuring that. So here's what our pesto looks like. Again, it's maybe like a little grittier than I would like it. I mean, this would be great on pizza or a sandwich, but if you wanted to use it as a sauce or something, I think you just want to process it a little bit longer. But either way, it's really delicious. So I'm gonna check, let's see here. What we're looking for with the cauliflower is that it's like kind of falls apart when you stick a fork in it, and all my forks are dirty. That's what I was looking for. Let me grab a knife. Kind of funny teaching classes in my own kitchen. Being prepared enough. Is the dishwasher dirty? Whoops, I didn't have time to run it, so now I don't have any clean forks. Okay, so let's see here. This is getting pretty close. Yeah, this is, I mean, you want it to fall apart. I think I'm going to give it just like maybe one more minute, two, something like that. In the meantime, let's see. Does anyone have any questions about the recipes I've gone over so far? There's only been comments on the creepy thing going across the counter, which is kind of funny. But something fun that I've been doing recently since quarantine is teaching classes via Zoom with other people where we cook together. And so it's been a fun way to teach skills to people, and then they can sit down as a family when they're done eating and eat together. And so we'll prepare a whole meal together. So that's something I can do no matter where you are in the world. So if that's something that interests you, it's been a lot of fun to do those. And so especially if you're wanting to learn a certain technique or a certain recipe or anything like that. So, but I also, I just created a course, a plant-based and gluten-free course that walks people through lifestyle transitions, which has been really fun, and I've gotten good feedback on it. And so you can find out more about that program and my other services under health coaching on Alternative Dish. And I do one-on-one coaching. I write menu plans and recipe plans for people. And so if you're interested in working with me in any way, I would love to work with you. And then I'm also teaching a class on Saturday on dairy-free cheeses. We'll be doing 5 cheeses and then recipes to go with each of those. And so feel free to check out those classes. And then I have a zoodles class coming up. If you don't know what zoodles are, they're zucchini noodles. And then I have a gluten-free baking class coming up. So learning how to like get the grit out of baked goods, how to convert recipes, and talking about different kinds of flours and things like that. So you can check out all of those on my website under classes. So, all right, I think this cauliflower is probably done now. Oh yeah, okay. That's nice and soft. I stuck my knife in there and it just kind of went through it like butter. That's what you want because it's going to blend really easily then. So I have a high-powered blender, a Vitamix. You don't need that for this. It's just going to take you longer to blend it. So when I pour the mixture into here, I think it might take me, Vitamix is liquefy things like that, so it's not going to take very long. But if you just have a regular old blender, that's just fine. But it might take like 5 or 6 minutes to get it nice and smooth, or maybe even longer. But just be patient with it, and you'll get there. You will get a nice smooth sauce, especially since we just boiled those cashews for about 10 minutes. That's going to really soften them up and definitely make them easier to blend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump the whole contents of this, the cauliflower, the cashews, and all of that into this blender container. So get my oven mitts on. Okay. And just be careful because it's really hot, obviously, because it was just boiling. And I just made a mess, a little bit of mess. Okay. And then I am also going to add some nutritional yeast and a little bit of salt to this. And then just a squeeze of lemon. So that just brightens it up a little bit. And so I'm not like not a ton, but I'm just going to do just a little bit. So just to brighten it up. You could do some vinegar too if you didn't have a lemon on hand, or you can just skip it too. But again, that nutritional yeast subs for the Parmesan cheese that would normally be in an Alfredo sauce. So experiment with it a little bit. If it's new to you, go ahead and start small. Start at the lower end. You know, most recipes say like 1 to 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast because it can have kind of a strong flavor. Not everybody loves it, but if you use it right, it's pretty subtle. So just start with the lower end. And it looks like I have some questions here. Let's see. Can we use a regular mixer with the basil for pesto? Do you mean, Manuela, do you mean like a regular blender, or do you mean like a stand mixer? Answer that there, and then I'm going to throw this on the blender, and then I'll see if I can answer your question. Okay, so I think this really is as long as you would need to do this on a Vitamix. It's pretty smooth here. So see, we have this nice, beautiful Alfredo sauce. It's so good. I love to just I like to pour this on like roasted veggies. I like to, use it on pasta, obviously. I like to use it as a sauce for pizza. What else do I use it on? I use it on everything. I pour it on salads. This makes a lot of Alfredo sauce, so it's going to be more than you really are going to probably need for pasta unless you're making a lot of it. So I put the sauce on everything. I love it. I use it as like I drizzle it on in lieu of cheese on pizza, and I think it works pretty well. So anyway, that's that sauce. And so Manuela said she meant arugula. So she said, could you use arugula in substitute for the basil? Absolutely. You can use any green you want. Spinach is really great in pestos. Arugula can be pretty strong, so you might want to mix it with something else. It's up to you. But yeah, you could use arugula, spinach, even kale. You'll want to process that a little bit longer. Kale can be kind of gritty, so you could even blanch the kale first. Like these heartier greens, you could blanch it in some boiling water for 30 seconds, and I think that would make a nicer pesto. So yeah, and then any herbs that you want to throw in there. Pesto is super versatile. I mean, it's just such a great canvas for whatever flavors you have around, and so you can play around with the acid in it. Like, it doesn't have to be lemon, it could be you know, different kinds of vinegar and things like that. Even balsamic's good, but of course that's going to change the look, the color of it. But balsamic vinegar is really good in pesto as well. So does anyone else have any questions? Any other sauces that you're curious about? I don't think I have. Do I have all these on my website? I can't remember. I think I do. I think I do. So these are all on my website. But if there's other recipes you want to see, please let me know, because I love getting the recipes out there that you guys want to see, because that's what I'm doing this for, is for you guys. So. Or any other classes you guys want to see too. If there's anything, I'm a plant-based or vegan chef, and so if there's anything like that that you want to see, I'd love to do it, and gluten-free, and you know, I'm pretty good at doing grain-free and all of those kind of things too. So, let's see. All right. So if there aren't any other questions, I'll sign off, and I'm so glad you guys are here. And feel free to email me anytime with questions that you have. I'm here to help, and I love to get people cooking in the kitchen. If you're curious about any of my services, feel free to book a discovery session with me. We can just have a chat and see if there's anything that I can help you with. They're totally free, and I love to get to know you and your needs. So anyway, okay. Class for vegan food, cool. Yeah, that's vegan Italian food. I think that's a great one. Maybe I'll do that one. And actually, on the cheese class I'm teaching on Saturday, I'm doing a ziti, baked ziti, kind of Italian, right? And some Alfredo sauce. But yeah, I could do a whole class on that. I think that would be really fun. So yeah, throw ideas at me. I love to hear them. I want to know what you guys are missing or craving or anything like that. So. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here, and I'm here if you need me, and I'll hope to see you in another class. So see you soon.